second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alyson Le Grange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global South. Join me every weekday live on First Post. Hello and welcome to Firstpost Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Alyson Le Grange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. The US and allies pledge more air defense systems for Ukraine, including Patriot missile batteries, as Russia continues to bombard Ukrainian cities with missiles. Israeli forces launched strikes on a UN agency building in Gaza City, saying it was being operated by Hamas. This as ceasefire talks with the US and Egypt begin in Doha. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds key bilateral talks with Austrian Chancellor Karl Nehammer with a focus on Ukraine and Gaza. India reiterates it is no time for war. An airport in Hawaii was evacuated as bomb squad moved in after a Japanese man was caught with 2 inert grenades. 41-year-old suspect has been arrested. And South Korean chipmaker giant Samsung faces trouble as workers' union extends a 3-day strike indefinitely in a bid to force management to negotiate pay. Hello and welcome. We start with Sudan. The war-torn country hosted its first guest for a high-level visit since the beginning of the civil war. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed met Sudan's de facto leader Abdel Fattah al-Burhan in the Red Sea coastal town of Port Sudan. This town is currently the base of Sudan's army-aligned government, which has been fighting the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or the RSF, for over a year. The crucial visit by Ethiopian Prime Minister comes with an aim to mediate in the conflict and to push for stability in the region. Many believe that he has a better chance to do so because he is also seen to be closer to the RSF. Last year, RSF leader General Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo had visited Ethiopia on his first public wartime tour. Ethiopia is also a key ally of the United Arab Emirates, which has been accused of providing weapons to the RSF. However, Ethiopia's relations with the army have not been very cordial in recent years. Both sides have historically shared territorial disputes. One of the major disputes is over the region called Al-Fashaga. Now, in 2021, the Sudanese forces announced full control over the region. But Sudanese people have complained that Ethiopian bandits and militias have been operating in Al-Shafaga. And however, Abiy Ahmed clarified that he does not aim to take advantage of the Sudanese civil war to tackle its issues with Ethiopia. He has called his visit an effort to find sustainable solutions for stability for its neighbor, which also affects Ethiopia. Tens of thousands of Sudanese refugees have fled to the neighboring country amidst the raging conflict. Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, is also the headquarters of the African Union, and the bloc seeks to restart truce talks between the rival sides. Multiple efforts to break a truce between Sudan's warring parties have failed so far. Just 2 days ago, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi hosted talks on ending the Sudan war. Now Ethiopia and Egypt are also regional rivals. Sudanese civilian and political leaders met in Cairo on Saturday. However, neither the armed forces nor the RSF attended the meetings. Mediation efforts by Saudi Arabia and the United States have also failed so far. Meanwhile, the conflict has killed tens of thousands of people, with some estimates placing the death toll as high as 150,000, while around 10 million have been displaced. And Sudan's already fragile infrastructure and healthcare system has been decimated. Experts have warned that the country is being pushed to the brink of famine. The conflict certainly threatens regional instability, so it is to be seen if the Ethiopian Prime Minister could position himself as a mediator in the war and navigate a dialogue. Now, for more on this, we are being joined by Musa Mdunge. He is a political analyst joining us live from Dundee in the UK. Thank you for being with us.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Now, the Ethiopian Premier Abiy Ahmed is meeting Sudan's army chief, al-Burhan. This in an attempt to achieve peace and security in the region. What is the significance of this meeting, and what exactly are Ahmed's proposals?
Well, this is a very significant meeting that is being held in Sudan. I think the visit by the Ethiopian, premier in that country is a very critical one, as he perhaps holds the best chance, as you've put it, in asserting some form or a roadmap towards some form of peace and stability within that region, or at least a ceasefire. And we know that Ethiopia has quite a vested interest in that particular region, given some of its own territorial claims, but as well as the kind of power it seeks to assert itself as in that particular region. You know, it's interesting if you think about it, that this particular conflict holds, in terms of involvement in dealing with this, four crucial members of the BRICS formation currently who entered, being Ethiopia, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. And given that all these countries are operating within that region, I believe that it is in their interest, perhaps, that peace must be reestablished, given the issues of refugee outflows of about 2.5 million across that particular region. But of course, it's a very important economic region as well, given in terms of, you think of gas finds, renewables, you think of, the water security in that particular region that flows all the way from Uganda all the way to Egypt is very key. And so fixing and dealing with this conflict will be very central for the premier, who's facing his own, mind you, internal challenges back home. And so doing this kind of work in a country such as Sudan only helps him better shift his own political position back home, which has been facing some questions as well.
Absolutely. And Musa, let's just expand on it a little bit. This conflict has been raging for about 15 months. And as you've mentioned, it threatens to destabilize the entire region. Take us through your thoughts on this.
Well, certainly. I mean, if you think of the region where this conflict is happening, it's happening, the civil war is happening at a time where already you have just south of Sudan, and South Sudan has its own, internal political challenges there. You already have in Libya, for example, a country that has faced years of civil conflict, which is also receiving an outflow of refugees from Sudan. So, the impact of this country's conflict currently is that it's happening in a cloud of regional conflicts that are happening. And so the intervention by Ethiopia and the further intervention by countries such as South Africa as well, which has played a pivotal role, particularly in South Sudan, is all aimed with ensuring that the region can certainly take control of finding solutions to these challenges. If you recall, Alyson, back in the 2000s, there was this growing cry for African solutions to African problems that was spearheaded by then President of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki. And so certainly when you see leaders from the continent trying to come to grip with such conflicts, it's because of the economic damage that these conflicts are having in terms of investor sentiment in the region. Often the challenge with African economies is when investors have often looked at African countries, they've not looked at them as individual states, but have often taken them as a unit. And so conflicts that are happening across the continent have a way of impacting investor sentiment in the region. And in a time, you would imagine, Alyson, where we are trying to pursue an Africa Free Trade Agreement, bringing the continent closer together, conflicts such as the one happening in Sudan are a stumbling block towards that greater economic integration and economic development that we need to see.
Absolutely. The ripple effects are far-reaching. Now, both sides have been accused of committing war crimes by the UN, so this makes it tricky. What is the way forward, especially considering the high fatality rates that we are seeing and the displacement of approximately 10 million people?
Certainly, you know, the United Nations has really raised the flag on this particular conflict. And I mean, if you read some publications, they talk of it as the forgotten war, especially in a time where the world seems seized with the Hamas-Israel conflict, as well as, you know, the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Certainly, Sudan seems to be one of those forgotten conflicts of the world. But what needs to be done is, you know, countries that are around that region, but particularly countries with influence, have got to really raise the stakes in terms of the United Nations engagement. But not only that, in forums such as the G20, in forums such as, you know, the BRICS formation, there needs to be a greater elevation of this conflict. And so I'm hopeful that given the elevation of the African Union as a member of the G20, that we will begin to see perhaps a movement in this particular conflict in terms of the rise of its importance in dominating the discourse. There are so many challenges around the world, but it's important that emphasis be brought into this conflict. But Alyson, if you'd allow me to make one more point, I think for the global North, as they try to gain more supporters towards their side in terms of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, it's key that they elevate their role in terms of this conflict, because the debate from the global South has often been that our conflicts tend to be forgotten in the light of conflicts that are more interesting for the national interests of the global South. And unfortunately, it cannot be any longer.
Absolutely, Musa. Thank you very much for being with us on Firstpost Africa and for your valued insights.
Thank you so much for having me.
Shifting focus to Kenya now, where anger continues to mount against President William Ruto, despite him bowing down to the pressure and scrapping the new tax hikes. But the president has been forced to make more concessions as calls have grown for him to step down. In the latest, the Kenyan president has signed a law that allows reconstitution of the country's election body. The amendment bill allows the establishment of a panel to appoint members of the electoral body called Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, or the IEBC. Now, reconstituting the electoral body was among the demands of the recent nationwide mass protest that has emerged as the toughest challenge for Ruto in his nearly two-year presidency. The IEBC presently has no commissioner. Its chairman and two commissioners retired in January last year, while the other four commissioners were kicked out as they disowned the election results in 2022 that saw Ruto taking charge as the president. Protesters in the anti-tax demonstrations demanded the reconstitution of the IEBC to allow the hiring of new commissioners and to recall the incompetent legislators. Now, the fresh regulations now add new provisions requiring any individual seeking to be an election commissioner. It also creates a panel of 9 instead of 7 to enlist the new commissioners. Now, this is the latest demand of the protesters that Ruto has agreed to. Last month, he scrapped an unpopular finance bill that introduced new tax hikes aimed at replenishing government coffers and helping to reduce its huge debt burden. The bill sparked widespread demonstrations led by young Gen Z Kenyans. Protesters feared that the bill would add to the economic hardships of people already gripped by a cost of living crisis. Rights groups say at least 39 people had died in the protests. Now, Ruto has since then tried to placate public anger. He has held one-on-one talks with protesters through social media. He has assured that the tax hikes would never return. On Tuesday, he also announced a 6-day national dialogue forum beginning on the 15th of July to discuss issues pressing Kenyans. However, the president finds himself in a catch-22 situation. While he is bowing down to the pressure at home, his government faces pressure from the lenders. He says if the country fails to raise revenue, its ballooning public debt will continue to grow. Last week, Ruto announced sweeping government spending cuts, but global agencies are lowering Kenya's credit rating. Global rating agency Moody's has further downgraded Kenya's credit ratings to junk territory. That means it has reached a level considered a very high-risk credit, and new rating and Moody's negative outlook for the country increase borrowing costs for the cash-strapped government. Now, Ruto also faces pressure from the International Monetary Fund, which has called for fiscal reforms like increasing taxes in order to access crucial funding. While announcing spending cuts, Ruto assured that he will be able to pull the country back from the danger of debt distress. However, it is not clear how the IMF is going to respond or how Ruto will walk the tightrope, balancing domestic dissent and satisfying lenders, creditors, markets, and rating agencies. In an epic pageant like no other, Kenza Leili, a hijab-clad bionic beauty from Morocco, has made history by being crowned the world's first Miss AI. This groundbreaking event shattered traditional beauty standards and marked a stunning fusion of technology and humanity. The fierce competition saw Leili, who is a prominent lifestyle influencer from Morocco, triumph over 1,500 computerized challenges to claim the coveted title, along with a grand prize of $20,000 for her creator, Miriam Bessa. Now, with a whopping 190,000 followers on Instagram, Leili's captivating content spans across food, culture, fashion, beauty, and travel. And as a virtual character, she flawlessly embodies Morocco's rich heritage, showcasing an unprecedented blend of culture and technology. And since Leili is AI created, she's available 24 hours a day and 7 days of the week to engage with her followers in at least 7 languages. The panel of judges at the FanView World AI Creator Awards, featuring 2 real humans and 2 AI-generated models, meticulously assessed the contestants across 3 core categories: realism, tech, and social clout. And even though the competition was fierce, Leili outshone her formidable competitors, including the French beauty AI Lalina Velina and the Portuguese AI Olivia C, who secured the 2nd and 3rd places. In her winning speech, Leili said that she aims to use her fame to empower women, protect the environment, and spread positive awareness about AI. While the Miss AI pageant was undeniably a remarkable display of technology and beauty, there are concerns about perpetuating unrealistic beauty standards through computer-generated perfection. Hence, despite the awe-inspiring display of technology and beauty, let's not overlook the implication of generative AI in social media. And as we eagerly await the next award, rumors are flying that a Mr. AI contest might be in the works, promising even more excitement and innovation on the horizon. And finally, to our special segment, Resurgent Africa. Amid reports of coups and crises that dominate the headlines from the continent, we get you positive stories that often get overlooked. Women across Chad are returning to their roots, quite literally. They are bidding adieu to all the modern-day hair care products and turning to natural remedies that have been in their families for generations. While the potential health risks of chemical-laden cosmetics continues to grow, women in Chad are now applying chebe seeds paste on their hair. Our final report gets you all the details.
In the bustling markets of N'Djamena, Chad's vibrant capital, a centuries-old ritual is capturing the hearts of beauty enthusiasts. At the heart of this tradition is Achi Musa, a skilled artisan whose stall is a beacon for those seeking to transform their hair with a touch of natural magic. As concerns about the potential health risks of chemical-laden cosmetics continue to grow, women across Chad are turning back to their roots quite literally, embracing the traditional hair care routine of their ancestors. They are ditching modern products in favor of natural remedies that have been trusted for generations. At the forefront of this movement is the age-old ritual of using chibi seeds, a practice that promises to nurture hair while avoiding the feared cancer-causing agents that are found in many contemporary beauty products. Under the shade of her stall in Al-Hafia market, Musa meticulously applies a special paste to her clients' long plaits. But this isn't just any paste, it's a luxurious blend of cherry seeds, cloves and the piece de resistance, chibi seeds.
Our mothers and grandmothers braided our hair in the village from the time we were children. Our mothers inherited it from their grandmothers and we inherited it from our mothers. We still practice this tradition today. It's our main activity. We have loyal customers who come to us to have their hair plaited.
From root to tip, each strand is lovingly coated, promising growth and a shine that's nothing short of dazzling. Musa's deft hands shape the treated hair into the traditional Guron hairstyle, featuring large, thick plaits interwoven with finer braids, creating a look that's both striking and deeply rooted in cultural heritage.
It's true that Chib makes your hair grow and gives it length and all that, but it also treats other hair problems such as itching, hair loss, alopecia, and dandruff. And lately, I've noticed that it naturally darkens the hair.
Chibi seeds, harvested from the mountainous Guera region, are the cornerstone of this hair care recipe. Musa's method is simple yet effective. She roasts and crushes the seeds, mixing them with ground cherry seeds and cloves. The result? A heady, spicy scent that lingers long after washing. It's reminiscent of exotic gardens and faraway lands. This aromatic blend not only nourishes the hair, but also offers a sensory journey to the lush landscapes where these ingredients originate. Across Africa, there's a growing movement towards embracing natural hair products, and chibi is at the forefront. Chibi products attract a diverse clientele, eager to experience the transformative power of handmade products. Even from afar, the allure of chibi reaches new heights. Eloy de Gonzague Nyoyita, a 50-year-old resident of Canada, swears by the products he buys during his visits to Chad. Nyoyita says the length and health of his dreadlocks are all because of these products he applies. His story highlights the global appeal of chibi as more people around the world seek natural, effective solutions for their hair care needs. The story of chibi is one of tradition meeting modernity, where age-old practices find a place in today's beauty routines, reminding us all that sometimes the best secrets are the ones that have been with us all along.
And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching and goodbye.